Welcome to episode 6 of the Truth in the Arena podcast, where we're speaking to coaches and performance professionals about the leadership principles and values that they hold dear, and then transitioning the conversation from the field of play into other areas of life where they advocate for those same principles and values. Today, we're very happy to have as our guest Coach Erik Becker from Daniel Hand High School. He is a coach at his alma mater. He also teaches sport nutrition. Erik is deeply involved in Feed the Cats and sprint-based football, and not just in the way of the speed and the explosiveness side of it, but also very much in the quality of life side of it. And he's devoted to helping advocate for young athletes and take young men and develop them into capable young adults. Erik, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us today.
Absolutely, Nate. I'm super honored to be here. I love your work.
Thank you very much, Erik. And we're going to jump right into it. So one of the things that we've talked a lot about through our first couple of episodes, and one of the recurring themes, is that for coaches like you and I who've been doing this for a long time, it's not just a matter of can we develop the best athletes? Well, it's not just a matter of can we collect a paycheck? There's some intrinsic motivation that drives us to go out and work with the athletes that we have day in and day out. Can you talk a little bit about those driving motivations that get you to the field every single day and how those values and principles inform your coaching outlook?
Absolutely. So this is my 25th year. I'm proud of that. I'm hoping I got 25 more. Like you said, I'm incredibly blessed and grateful to teach and coach at my alma mater, one of the best football programs in America, Daniel Hand High School. We've won 75% of our games over 55 years, 29 division titles, 14 state championships, and I'm absolutely blessed to serve in this capacity. So you're talking about your why, and I'm guided by my why every day. I coach to help boys become authentic men who will impact the world for good, who will become great citizens one day. A major shout out to Joe Ehrman. Joe is America's coach. Joe's work came into my life in 2005 when I read a book called Season of Life by Jeffrey Marks. It's an incredible book that documents Joe's work with the Gilman Greyhounds. Absolute life changer. I give it to my seniors every year. I recommend his book, Inside Out Coaching, to every coach. Having a why is essential for longevity. Leadership comes with criticism. It's an ever-present part of this work. We get paid pennies on the hour for our time. It's my why that keeps me going. Way past wins and losses. If I just think I'm teaching kids to block and tackle, I am missing the greater point of my mission.
So, and a very important point that you made in your first answer is that you're not just like talking about principles with your athletes. You're giving them, hey, these are books to read. These are values that you can start to enact in your own life, and then kind of taking that first question and moving it into a bigger picture element. So you're talking about developing young men who are effective young men, and that's actually one of the kind of debate points that often gets picked up in American life right now is how are we raising this next generation of young men, and you're on the front lines doing that. So how do those elements of your why then inform some of your social and political viewpoints, and how are you drawn to leaders in those venues that reflect your why?
Yeah, absolutely. So John Dewey is considered the founder of modern education. He talks about the primary value of school as being a vehicle to equip and produce citizens who are ready to participate in a democracy. So public education and team sports absolutely influence my politics. I see America as a big-hearted place. Ronald Reagan called us a city on a hill. In his inaugural address, Ronald Reagan said, "We are a nation that lives up to the idea that we should be a city on a hill. And the eyes of the world are upon us." And he saw that we have a special role and responsibility in this world, and that it should be an example of freedom, prosperity, equality, opportunity for the world. I believe what it says on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. We're a country of immigrants. Unless you're Native American, everybody comes from somewhere else. A couple generations ago, it was my grandparents sitting in the back of the class learning English. And there's room for us all here. America is founded on incredibly noble ideals, and we don't always live up to our ideals. That's individually, that's as a nation, but they remain our North Star. A couple of years ago, I was in D.C., and I walked from the Capitol, down the mall, to the Lincoln Memorial, over to the Jefferson. It's a pilgrimage every American should take. And I was reminded of the incredible ideals that our nation was founded on. Out of many, one. You know, we have so much that unite us. And as Lincoln said, we must always strive to live up to our better angels. And we share so much, and we have so much common ground. Our best leaders speak to that and amplify that. They cast a vision of America wide enough for us all. And sadly, our worst leaders do the opposite. Again, we must always listen to our better angels.
Fantastic. Really love the passion of that statement. And then also an important part early on where you discuss that, you know, as a teacher and coach in public education, one of your duties is to prepare students to participate in democracy, not just, you know, not believe
not a
one thing
spectator
or another.
sport. Democracy is not a spectator sport.
Exactly. So to that end, sometimes, you know, participating in democracy feels like it comes with, you know, an interpersonal risk. Like, oh, you know, there may be judgment involved, there may be some kind of cost, there may be some kind of consequence. But meanwhile, in addition to the things that we teach our athletes on the field, one of the things that we try to teach them is bravery in the face of risk. And we know as coaches, there's that simple protect, perform continuum where athletes who are very, very nervous about protecting themselves, whether it's because of an injury or just because of being a little tentative or not being confident, they're a little bit less effective. Whereas those athletes who are willing to let it fly, who are willing to be brave, who are willing to get stuck into the moment and even risk being hurt in that moment, those are the ones who change the game. Those are the ones who make the greatest impact. Can you talk a little bit about that notion of risk and bravery in sport and how it translates beyond sport and how that may be something that you work with your athletes as a quality worth developing?
Love that question. So I've come to view football through an archetypal lens. Football is men's work for me, our team, our staff. We are a circle of men. We are men among men. We are responsible to each other, accountable for each other. My job is to safely initiate boys into their warrior archetype in a way that benefits our larger community. The warrior archetype is focused action. It's courage, it's discipline, it's service to a cause beyond self. The warrior archetype is motivated by love. And the central question of the warrior archetype is, do you love enough? And facing risk is an inherent part of that rite of passage. We grow on the edge of our comfort zone. Sports is great because it provides us an opportunity to take safe risks, to show courage in the face of fear. And we grow from experiences that stretch us. To show discipline in our community, in our classrooms, on the field, it's all the same. To serve our teammates out of a deep love for our program, for our brotherhood or sisterhood, it's all the same. So this is the rite of passage in sport. And it's my job to get them right to the edge of that risk that help us to learn who we are and what we're capable of. And confronting that risk, stepping up with that courage is a huge part of that initiation. It's a rite of passage. And I'm always looking to increase the value of this experience for my players to make it truly transformative. Things I think about all the time. How can I make it more of an initiation into positive masculinity? How can I deepen the ritual experience and make it a true rite of passage for our boys?
So, a couple of really important points there. Well, first of all, that do you love enough, which is where it all comes from, because it has to be a passion and it has to come from the heart. And then a second element there of accountability. And that then kind of moves into where we are as coaches, where we really need to have that accountability. We need to be willing to walk it like we talk it. And it starts with small things. For me, it's simple things like being on the sideline. And if it's a hot day and my kids are playing out in a hot sport, I'm standing on the sideline with them. I'm not sitting on a chair under the tent. If it's pouring down rain and they have to play in the pouring rain, I am not standing somewhere with my hood on or an umbrella. I'm getting soaked right with them. I try to be right there with them and have, that in small areas, and then in bigger spaces where it's like, all right, can I also talk to you about values and then embody those same values in my life and in the bigger picture of where I stand in my community, and not just have it be lip service. So as we talk about like developing that capacity to take risk in our athletes, do you have any suggestions for coaching peers for how they can continue to walk it like they talk it in their lives? And if you believe very firmly in principles and values and leadership, can you take those beliefs and translate them into that bigger picture of what's happening in your community, in your state, in your nation?
That's a great question. So, first of all, I'm incredibly blessed and honored to stand in the shoes of my mentor, and Steve Filippone, my high school football coach, the greatest coach I've ever encountered. Any sport, any level. Serving in his role is an act of love that I choose because of how much this program means to me and to honor his legacy. I will serve with all my heart as long as I'm able. And serving in this role is not about me. It's about our program. It's about honoring those who came before. It's about upholding our legacy established on day one in 1970 by Larry Ciotti and committed to toughness, physicality, discipline. This is about choosing to become the best we can be. And I'm here to model that, to be great on purpose, to become elite in our 20 square feet. Before I get to the meat of your question, I gotta say two things I need to keep in mind always. Number one is I need to be able to look at my players and see myself. I must never lose sight of what it feels like to be a 16, 17, 18-year-old boy. At the same time, I want them to look at me and be able to see themselves. Someday one of them will take over for me. Archetypally, my role is to hold the king energy that's calm, confident, that's benevolent, create order, empower others. I'm also holding warrior energy, which is sacrifice for our cause, discipline, serving our program, our school, and our town. I'm always trying to model positive masculinity for our boys, healthy in body, mind, and spirit, wise adult male. I work out with our kids every day in the weight room. I sprint with them during the summer. I'll do that as long as I'm able. I love working out with our boys. I love sweating together. I played here. I wore the jersey, and it means so much to me now to shepherd them through this awesome experience.
And all of these positive qualities that you're working hard to model and working hard to embody and working hard to instill, you're talking about things like discipline and accountability and trust and being part of something greater than yourself. In the conversation about some of these leadership qualities, an interesting phenomenon over kind of the last decade is that the discussion of these normally laudable qualities has been turned into like a divisive political discourse. And if you start talking about honesty, and if you start talking about meritocracy, and if you start talking about believing in something bigger than yourself, all of a sudden it gets into, whoa, stay in your lane. Like you're suddenly maybe criticizing a current form of political leadership. How do you think we've gotten to that point where, you know, laudable American qualities have become this battleground over political viewpoints when they should be things that most of us believe are positive qualities?
Absolutely. To me, this sounds like the shut up and dribble phenomenon. Folks on both sides of the political spectrum have been both co-opted and silenced for expressing their views. We certainly live in a country with freedom of speech, and it is certainly appropriate for folks to use that. There's a great quote widely attributed to St. Francis of Assisi that says, "Preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words." I thought of that right away when I read your question. I interpret this as meaning that life, that we should live a life that embodies the gospel rather than necessarily preaching it with words. As a team, we model brotherhood. We model equity. We model inclusivity. As Bill Curry said, all men sweat and bleed the same color. We see that on the field. In the huddle, we become brothers. And we want to be the change we wish to see in the world. And we want to shine that like a light.
Yeah, I love that quote about model it, model it, model it, model it. And then if you have to, like, if it's not working, then you have to, all right, well, now I got to actually discuss it and I got to speak out about it. And one of the things that I've discussed with each of the previous guests is kind of where that line comes when they decide, hey, I have to speak out about some of these things that are occurring in my country. And that is based at root in their definition of patriotism. And whether it's been talking to Tony Holler or Scott Charland or Ken Vick or Zach Evanesh or Kendall Green, each has a slightly different definition of patriotism, but mostly they boil down to trying to discover shared values and being willing to advocate for them and defend those shared values. So can you define like what your view of patriotism is and how you see that involving your responsibility as a citizen of this country?
Yeah, I think sports, to a large degree, inform it and demonstrate it. Throughout our history as Americans, sports have led society, often in demonstrating those changes and our best ideals. Sports have demonstrated what is possible. I think of Bill Curry's incredible poem called "The Huddle," which I referenced earlier. I think of Branch Rickey choosing Jackie Robinson to break the color barrier in baseball. Sports can remind us of the noble qualities that we aspire to. Sports have often demonstrated the best in our society and refresh me when I'm getting bogged down in political discourse or what the media is putting out. Sports show us the best of America, the brother and sisterhood that we hope to find. I'm coaching to change the world. I'm coaching to change lives. I want to be the best coach any of my players ever have and give them the most profound experience being on a team that they'll ever have. We want to aspire to listen to our better angels, to live lives like the city on a hill. And I believe if the people lead, the leaders will follow. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must shine our lives like a light. As Americans, we must never lose sight of our noble ideals. We must never lose touch with our better angels. We must keep striving to create that more perfect union, that all men and women are created equal, that we all have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that we can all achieve the American dream, in this land of opportunities, that we live in a functioning democracy of the people, for the people, by the people. That is who we are. We must never lose sight of that.
Fantastic. Really love a couple of the points that you make there in terms of sports demonstrating the best of America. And that is one of the reasons why I've been drawn to sports, is that it has that ability to demonstrate the very, very best in us. And then also, as you say, not just coaching to coach, you're coaching to change lives. You're coaching to change, to make an impact on the world as a whole. So Coach Erik, thank you so much for joining us here today. Incredible episode. A lot of valuable takeaways for everybody who will be here listening to us. And thanks again for your time.
Grateful for you, Nate.
All right. Thank you.